Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm seeing a little less energy. Good morning. So that's more energy and enthusiasm, which is very essential in the first discussion. So, the topic, first of all, it's, I would say, a distinguished panel and a diverse panel, double D, I call it. Because people in the panel represents different parts of the ecosystem of the automotive industry or influences in the automotive industry. So there is Mr. Gandhi, who's there on my extreme right. He needs no introduction. He's the Bhisham Pitama of the automobile policies in the countries. For a long time, I call him that thing. Dr. Shweta Singh, she's a leader in the intellectual property rights, and she can shed light on a lot of things which we are not aware of. On my left is Mr. Vinkesh Gulati. Today he wears the hat of the chairman of Automotive Skill Development Council, whereas he's been a very prominent dealer and he's a major educationist also. Mr. Luthra, Shailendra Luthra. Well, doctor is more my respect. So he's a automobile dealer representing brands between two-wheelers and passenger vehicles, but more today he's in the capacity of chairperson of Federation Automobile Dealers Association for Delhi. And Delhi is the linchpin where the major policies are decided. And last but not the least is Mr. Ayush Lohia, the famous Lohia and Yoda brands of three-wheelers and two-wheelers, especially three-wheelers. He's this thing's a major industrialist, the voice of the industry. So we'll get away right away on the topic. And I'll start with Vinkesh. Vinkesh, if we stand today, and we'll discuss basically on two-wheelers and three-wheelers on EV. And if you could take us through where do we stand today and what has been the development last year as far as the EV is concerned. And then we'll go to what we need to do for the future.
Okay, so you want me to answer from the skilling side or the?
You are wearing many hats, but from the skilling side, because I want you to answer from the ecosystem side. Okay. Because skilling is an important part of the ecosystem. A lot of people don't focus on it because of software issue, but the ecosystem is a very important part.
So thank you. Thanks the organizers for a beautiful early morning for Delhi's. But so overall, frankly, EV is still as per the skilling side and still in the nascent stage. And why I'm saying that, because if you talk about ICE, the way the even aftermarket, organized players obviously have a better position, but even the aftermarket is stabilized in the repairs or maintenance or how the vehicles run and all that. But when we talk about EV, the skilling is not even at the right position to see the or cover the adaptation what government wants or what we are pushing towards. And moreover, the bigger problem is not only maintenance and repairs, because EV is not only a vehicle. It, like Arunji said, the full system needs a lot of things. So like from charging station to the latest buzzword like BAS, and how do you manage that? And it's not only some parts which is working, it's a grid of from where you get the charging and then how to set up the charging station and the kind of, so it's like you have to set a fuel station also and a dealership also, and then see how you could do the end-to-end correlation between a vehicle. So I feel there's a lot to do in the skilling side, and as per me, once that happens, the adoption rate will easily increase more. What currently is happening that independently every body or every person is bothered about what they are doing, like a dealer or a charging infrastructure entrepreneurs or even the government, how they are working. Unless and until we all come together and work towards a common goal of making EV acceptable at our level, and then providing a proper skill in the system, the exact adoption level is still far off. So we need to come together, everybody, starting from the manufacturer, dealers, the startups which are entering or already entered the charging infrastructure or battery as a service providers. We all have to work together, first on the skilling, then only it will be actual what result we are expecting.
So, what Vinkesh mentioned, skilling, and this is, in olden times we studied mechanical engineering, then came mechatronics, then coming electronics and electric. The whole concept of skilling is very different. And unless that skilling ecosystem is there, or the myths are in their mind, then it cannot improve on in some training. That's an important area. Coming to Mr. Gandhi, you represent the Bureau of Energy Enterprise also, and there's a lot of focus, or you are also advisor to the Ministry of Transport. EV somehow, and I am taking only two-wheelers, three-wheelers has done well, and three-wheelers I'll talk to Mr. Lohia more, somehow not lived up to the potential. I mean, we're talking about 70%, 2030, I don't know whether the figure still holds true, it might come to 30%, we are still on 7% penetration, as the last presentation showed. So from that perspective, what do you think is the bottleneck, or where we stand today? What we have done, I mean, there's a good achievement. 7% is not bad at all, but where is still the gap today at this point of time? If really one has to take a nuclear reaction approach, which has to just speed up.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks the organizers for inviting me here. Well, Arun, the penetration, if you see in the overall context of the auto sector, 7% is a good figure. We should not deny the fact that if you look at other segments like passenger cars, it is much, much lower. So two-wheeler definitely is a candidate which will see the fastest growth or will take us to the EV trajectory. And this is perhaps one of the reasons when we were talking about whether we should have fuel efficiency regulations for two-wheelers. So one of the point of view of the government was that perhaps it may be a good idea that we should not try to meddle with this industry. And if at all we need fuel efficiency regulations or energy regulations, it could be perhaps for the electric two-wheelers. And therefore, in my view, that as I think other panelists and other people all know it, in the India is a segment, a country where we say called affordability. So today, the FAME thing is gradually coming down, but in spite of that, as we saw in the last presentation by ICRA, that cost economics or total cost to the consumer is still better off for electric two-wheelers. But again, in India, we always look at the acquisition cost, which is still higher at almost about, I think, 30% more than the cost of IC vehicle. So I think over a period of time, and once the cost of the electric or the front-end acquisition cost comes down to, say, maybe 10% or 15%, I think we will suddenly find a big jump in the whole game.
So Mr. Gandhi is quite hopeful, and he says, don't undermine the 7%.
Yes.
7%, is, as they say in a vehicle, always the challenge is to come to the first and second gear. Once it comes to second gear, the fifth gear is somewhat simpler, although we now talk about automatic transmission. Coming to Mr. Luthra, you are wearing the hat of the chairperson of FADA in Delhi. And Delhi कहते हैं जो दिल्ली आज करता है, देश बाद में करता है. तो आपके कंधों पे बहुत जिम्मेदारी है, which is there. So my point is, Delhi has been the harbinger for policy changes a lot. CNG was a Delhi creation. I mean, everybody says CNG started Delhi, that became the change. Today we are talking of 25% vehicles in passenger vehicles in CNG, and we are talking of something like 60% CNG in three-wheelers. Now coming to EV, where do we stand today? And not only from Delhi perspective, where do we stand in the journey of two-wheelers? And we'll take two-wheelers only especially. Where is the fillip required, or where is that spark required? And what is the inflection point? Although you can't disclose a lot of things which are under discussion, but still I'd like to pick your mind.
Good morning, everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank everyone that all of you are here so early in the morning for this session. And now answering to Mr. Malhotra. Well, the two-wheeler, the EV trend rather, is catching up everywhere. All over the country. Yes, you are right, Delhi leads the light because there are certain legislations made in Delhi in such a way, or certain rules made in such a way. Apart from that, I'm also of a firm believer that people accept the change in Delhi. You cannot sell a electric or a petrol two-wheeler to anybody, being specifically about two-wheeler, I'll speak, since without their accepting the same. Generally, it's a given fact, two-wheelers are used by masses. So there cannot be a mass absorption without a willingness. But still, having said that, the all India growth in two-wheeler registration in the entire calendar year 25 versus 24 was 11.5%. All India level, it grew by 11.5%. And when we compare that to Delhi, Delhi was close to 18%. So, all India, it was growing by 11%, but in Delhi, it was growing by 18%, which was higher than the country average. Primarily, the reason for this switch is obviously green, talking about green and low cost of operations. But you also spoke about why the absorption is not there so much. For this, I believe that this change is just about to happen. The ignition has started, but the engine or the motor has to roar. Now you will see more and more frontline players like all the major OEMs who do volumes in two-wheelers are introducing more and more electric models, having better range. There is a range anxiety also. There used to be a range anxiety which is now going gradually. So we will see better absorption of two-wheelers in the years to come, or maybe year-on-year growth.
Okay, great. So if I take Mr. Luthra's point, he says Delhi is leading the way, clearly higher than a national average. And if I have to put words in his mouth, Delhi dur nahi hai. Huh?
Or we could say Badalti Delhi.
Badalti Delhi. Huh? बदल भी रही है और दूर भी नहीं है.
Correct, that is right. And you were right in you're saying that CNG started from Delhi. But अगर आप अब देखेंगे, so you will see the CNG buses are going off roads. We see swanky electrical operated buses replacing them. So yes, there is a change which is happening, and Delhi will be.
So Delhi leads the change.
Delhi will be epicenter. Yes, for sure.
If we were having the conference in Bangalore, they wouldn't agree with this because they believe Bangalore leads the change. But anyway, that's a point for a different.
But I feel Luthra ji is not spilling out beans. The way EV policy is being designed today in Delhi,
absolutely.
If it really comes out the way Shailendra ji is discussing with the CM and everybody, saying that Delhi leads the change will become an actual phenomenon in auto in India.
I think if that policy, which is one hears or reads about it, comes to fruition, which he is an important part of it, तो फिर कुछ
our role is limited to just consultative part. But yes, there is, like you said, many things cannot be said. But yes, there is a big shift in the think tank.
Think tank.
Now, I would say think tank because Delhi does not mean Delhi CM or thing. Delhi is a big think tank, which involves center, which involves judiciary, which involves so many ministries, which involves the bureaucrats, which involves Delhi government. So there's a complete change in think tank.
So that's great. So as he says, Delhi Bharat ka dil hai. तो दिल में अगर परिवर्तन आ गया तो जमीन पे भी परिवर्तन आ जाएगा.
We will see a lot of EV changes happening.
Coming to Mr. Lohia, one interesting question which a lot of people have. You know, we talk of 4% penetration in passenger vehicles, 7% in two-wheelers, trucks and buses, if you combine together, 3%. But electric three-wheelers, it's around 60% or 55%, above more than 50%. And there doesn't much discussion, debate happens. Is there some learning from the electric three-wheeler market which you think will be relevant for two-wheelers? Because some of the manufacturers are the same, and the ecosystem or the power pack is fairly similar.
Great. So, good morning, everyone. And I thank TWF for giving us space here. So, coming back to three-wheeler, very rightly said, it is one category which has almost within, almost from last 3 years, it is topping above 50% in the category. The major reason, if you see, is there was a category which was added in three-wheeler segment, that is L3 category vehicles. And it started only with electric vehicles. There was no gasoline, nothing. The complete category was only specifically designed or it was approved only for electric segment. So that segment is 100% electric. It's a part of three-wheeler. When it comes to L5 category, it's still at 30 to 40%.
Of the total EV sales.
Of the total.
But that has been growing over time, I think.
Yes, it is definitely growing, and it is drastically growing. Now we are seeing that cities don't want to buy CNG. I have very closely looked at cities like Moradabad, Okay, Delhi is permit driven and it is like it has been locked by Supreme Court authorities. So we don't know the change, how it happens. But if you see other cities where CNG was prevalent and you have apple to apple comparison, people don't want to go with CNG, they want to buy electric vehicle. So that change is definitely happened. The cost of ownership, people are able to accept that the upfront cost is definitely higher, and still electric vehicle, the running cost is low, which is directly impacting the cost of ownership and the living standard of the driver, because it is used for commercial purposes, ferrying passengers, cargo, and we especially see that when it impacts for saving, they are bound to shift. If you see comparison apple to apple with the CNG, with that of electric vehicle, the cost is almost 20 to 30% higher, the acquisition cost, the initial upfront cost, which is definitely a barrier. But the ownership cost has reduced down, the running cost has reduced down drastically from, say, 2 or 3 rupees per kilometer on fuel. It has come down drastically to less than 50 paisa per kilometer, which is a huge saving.
So, you know, what Mr. Lohia is saying, you know, and as somebody was, there are a number of R's. We remember the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But the R's in the auto industry are the right price, range, reach, reassurance, reliability. These are the other R's which are there. And somehow three-wheelers is ticking the box, which is there.
So three-wheeler ticks every box.
Every
Whether you
box.
talk- each and every box, whether you talk about.
So a lot of learnings can have three-wheeler, which is a more, you can say, somewhat unorganized, a lot of people call it sector, is accepting it. And the ecosystem is working, and the people it's used for their subsistence and their living, if they're accepting it, it should happen the other way also, which is there.
I would completely agree to what Mr. Lohia just said. Just to give one line, some data statistics. There has been acceptance of around 50, this is all registration data which I speak. There's a year-on-year growth of around 15.5% in three-wheeler all India. Okay. And if we come to Delhi specific, the growth is 46.5%. So you can just see the change. Mr. Lohia is absolutely right. This is particularly three-wheelers. So 46.5%, 46% year-on-year growth in the number of three-wheelers getting registered.
So, Mr. Luthra,
Just adds to what he said.
So 3 times is the growth of three-wheelers vis-a-vis ICE engines in Delhi.
Yeah.
The same way, the growth in two-wheelers is
So
much lesser.
It is much
So
lesser.
that's a lot of learnings to be done there.
Yes.
But one thing which is very interesting, when Mr. Lohia was speaking, he was only talking of CNG as a competitor. Petrol, diesel had disappeared.
it is almost like no one talks about petrol, diesel anymore. Diesel has come down drastically as far as the numbers is concerned. It's
Whereas
almost
this
like-
used to be a diesel market, petrol and diesel market 10, 15 years back.
Yes,
So
definitely
that's
yes.
so that's an
That
interesting
change has
part.
happened. And in fact, one more thing, if you see in electric three-wheeler, everything is being tried. Like whether you're talking about BAS, whether you're talking about battery swapping, whether you talk about battery leasing, whether you talk about fast charging, every space has been tried in electric three-wheeler space. Whether you talk about lead-acid batteries, for that matter. So all those areas are being explored. The technology has been explored. And it was a three-wheeler segment only in which first time people said that LFP is the thing for India best suited in that Indian condition.
So Mr. Lohia is saying a lot of new Fonda concepts which are talked of with great pride, like BAS in four-wheelers, is already there. Eh? Battery as a service already did operate. Coming to Shweta, you represent a very different perspective. We've been talking of, in the Abi language, I will call it rums and rations. Kitna fuel efficiency, kitna volume, kitna percentage. But this, and you're expert in intellectual property rights. First of all, I want to understand from you and from the audience also would like to understand, how does the intellectual property rights relate to the auto industry and especially to EVs? If you can simplify it and tell people where it is and what is the importance of it.
Thanks and good morning to everyone. IP right now, if we talk, has been taken, the present situation I'll tell, has been given a backseat to this industry. This industry has taken IP and given a backseat.
So this is a call to all of you who have taken a back seat.
As I'll give example, all the questions were important. I have been asked the question in the last. because IP comes, this is how we treat.
There's a just since you said that, there was an actor used to be in film industry, Raj Kumar. He used to come in the end, but he used to use the full impact of the whole movie. So we
Yeah, so that I'll make sure
Huh?
that I create the.
chief guest hota hai, pehle the
No,
models.
no. I'm taking this example to give because see, it means that I'll simplify it. IP means to make you more understand. It's like owning a property without building a house without owning a land, and this is what presently India is doing. Gradually, in 5-6 years, yes, IP has increased, but believe me, whatever jugaad we are doing, whatever OEMs, vendors they are bringing, they are arranging the parts, and then we are building the complete model, either it's in the battery innovation or the battery management system or the charging infrastructure, but somewhere we are not protecting it. And as I mentioned, if we don't protect it, precaution is always better than cure. India, the next war in EV industry will be IP war, because the bigger players, either from foreign or the Indian bigger players like Mahindra and Tata, they have already protected it. I am working with many of the startups, and believe me, in last 2 years, startups has grown their IP portfolio like anything, and they are being recognized for the work they are doing. But more of the 90% of the innovation filing of the IP is coming from big players. Why not the Indian startups are doing that, or small scale?
Are they not aware of it, or they don't realize the importance of it?
Initially, 10 years back, if you talk, they were not aware of it. This time, they consider it more as a legal paperwork rather than realizing that this is going to increase their valuation by 6x to 10x. So they are not realizing it, they are not giving that importance. Awareness is there that there is a patent, there is a trademark, there is a design, but they are not giving that strategic consideration which they should in their planning, or initial planning. So IP is something where you should have to bring it into the initial, yes, initial. If you are building something, what IP is, how IP, and how much cost budgeting should be there for the IP. So this is something India is lacking.
Tell me, in the last 2 years, if you were to compare the last 2 years versus the 5 years previous to that, things have improved?
Things have improved, I'll say 15 to 20%. Yes, SMEs and startups are filing more than the companies who are selling. I wonder that the OEMs and the vendors, they are more into pictures, because I'm going to sell this to Tata, I'm going to sell this to Mahindra, I want to get it registered first, so that my cost of selling that particular product or process gets better results.
So, since we are discussing two-wheelers, three-wheelers, I can suggest you can sell it to Hero, TVS, Bajaj, Ola, Ather.
So we are already, I cannot name my clients, but if you name the big players, yes. If you name the big players, yes. But I'm very happy, my team is very happy with China, because we get lot of EV innovations from China.
So, if I take your sentence out of thing, and I'm happy with China, it won't be the most positive comment to make in the media.
When it comes to business part, the innovation, because see, the Chinese companies are like, वो सीखते भी हैं ना, तो उस टेक्नोलॉजी को पहले प्रोटेक्ट करते हैं and then उसको मार्केट में डालते हैं.
So there's a lot to learn from that.
Yes. So I told from the learning perspective that whatever they do, they first get it protected and then they enter the market.
Okay, great. So we got yeah. You can ask question, yeah.
You're talking about OEMs. What's there in for dealers also? Can you give, because that's the end
So
of
I'll tell you a good example here. So we take from vendors, we take from OEMs their product, their whatever they make, right? We never check, as an organization, we never check, are they infringing someone's IP or not? If they are infringing someone's IP और आपने लिया है, बड़ी कंपनी आपके पीछे आएगी, वो आपके OEM के पीछे नहीं जाएगी या vendors के पास नहीं जाएगी. So this is something, and for this there is a term which I want to tell everyone, is called FTO, Freedom to Operate Searches in IP, which every company should do before buying or before making a product or before selling a product, क्योंकि आप किसी ऐसे jurisdiction में sell कर रहे हो जहाँ पे वो already patented है, तो आप किसी को इन्फ्रिंज कर रहे हो. So it's like copy paste वाला काम होगा, तो इन्वेस्टर भी भागेगा और litigation भी.
So if I have to take one small summary of it, the United name, which is for education and automobile, please get intellectual property rights for that. Nobody should infringe on that.
She raised a very important point about startup. That prompted me to say this. I was thinking I will not give a hint about it. You see, Mr. Malhotra started the conversation by saying that EV absorption, then he said two-wheeler absorption in Delhi is not as much higher as three-wheelers. Or we will come to the passenger vehicle segment later. We will talk about it later. But the fact remains that the reason why the two-wheeler EV absorption is low is because there were no dealers involved. There was a startup direct to home in two-wheelers. And unfortunately, lakhs and lakhs of people have burned their fingers with that.
That's right.
So we have to be very clear, there has to be something where the law and the technology is administered in such a way that the end consumer is not the sufferer.
So Mr. Gandhi raised the right point. So good. Now, can we just shift gears or we move forward? And Mr. Gandhi, we are already in 2026, so 2030. Targets are ambitious. I don't know whether 70% is the target or 30% is the target. But Vikesh, you go to... Okay, well, let's not talk 70. So 30 itself is 4 times when you talk of it there. So if we have to jumpstart this EV revolution which is there, what are things the various stakeholders should do together so that the EV revolution moves now at a faster pace? Because the groundwork has been laid.
Yeah, the figures of this penetration you just talked about, I think if you take only scooter segment, the penetration is much higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's the motorcycle segment which is really not moving towards the EV route. Because of the various reasons, the usage pattern, the people who tend to use the motorcycle, they love the sound of it and all that. So they are not going the EV route. And then of course the range and the preference of the consumer, and that's one of the reasons why even the established two-wheeler manufacturers have not really ventured into the motorcycle region. So what I was only trying to make out a point was that if you only look at the scooter segment, the penetration is almost 3 times higher than what the figure of 7% which is there. Therefore, coming to about 30% by 2030 is not a too ambitious a target, and it will be very easily, provided we are able to take into localization of the supply chain. Today, one of the major factors which has been pointed out by others also is that the supply chain, or the rare earths, nickel, cobalt, and all that, is mainly concentrated outside India, or the whole thing. China and of course the South America is the major. And I think we are more or less importing 60 to 70% of the same. So once we are able to localize, and now the volumes with the big players coming in, the volumes are going up. And if you only look at the scooter segment, I think once the volumes are there, the localization happen with the government support also on the rare earth and all that. What we are talking about, if we are able to further the stakeholders localize it and bring the cost down, I think achieving the targets which are there envisaged by the government won't be difficult.
So, 2 points which Mr. Gandhi has mentioned. One is, at this point of time, the focus on EV in two-wheelers has only been on scooters. And traditionally, scooters contribute only 1/3 of the volume of the two-wheeler. So, from 33%, you are 7%. But 66% is an area which is totally untapped, or probably the technology is not. Is there a challenge in getting the technology on motorcycles? Because there are hardly any motorcycles you find. And if you don't do that, you can't rise penetration.
Basically, you see, if you look at the motorcycle segment, the user wants to do a normally high speed, lower weight to power ratio they want, the high power they want. Then they want to do cruising, which is, if you go to the EV route, the technology
Expensive.
is an issue. So even the international manufacturers today, because they're not taking the motorcycle route. Because of the technology, the cost will go up. Then the space for the battery and the weight which goes up doesn't make it the right choice.
So what Mr. Gandhi is saying clearly, that motorcycles is something we address. And surprisingly, among the top 5 players, 3 players, Hero, TVS and Bajaj, they
None
are
of them
big
are going
motorcycle
for-
players. So clearly that's a work to be done, and that will make the
Yeah, I
momentum.
think that's the
The
place
momentum is
where
there.
we need a technology breakthrough as required before we can move into the motorcycle area.
Vikesh, when we're talking of skilling, you understand the dealer network, the OEM network, the OEM mindset, and the skilling, which is your part of it. So there are a lot of myths which are there. I mean, certain things could be misunderstood or misinterpreted, and certain things, they're real gaps. So what do you think are the myths which reality it has been covered, and what do you think things to be done if you really need to speed up? That one should not think of these hours too much. The price is getting down. Price is not a problem. But the other hours are still very relevant. Range, reach, reliability, reassurance.
So very frankly, I feel like Luthra ji said, somewhere the EV start or the inception wasn't in the right way. So if you talk about CNG or even hybrid or other, whenever these vehicles were launched, the slow seeding of a product, of a technology happened very slow. And the adoption, once reached a level, it automatically grew. Whereas if you see EV, how it happened, it was actually a fair thing. Pollution is a big problem, we'll have to shift to EV. Even if we don't have that infrastructure, we have to shift to EV. And the start happened with substandard products being imported and then being supplied, which automatically created a lot of problems in the market. And with due apologies to my friend Ayush, started from the three-wheeler front and the two-wheeler fronts, which were non-regularized. So you heard a lot of Chinese two-wheeler being imported, which were catching fire and creating problem. And one of the biggest startup, which was the EV, you can say as blue-eyed boy in India, was the biggest problem. So like I'm coming from skilling. So skilling normally is not an important thing. If you set up a two-wheeler manufacturing unit or even a dealership, you'll never think of skilling first. Nobody builds a training room in a dealership or an auto OEM first. They start with production or a workshop. And once they get in, and then they think, yeah, we need some L&D also. And then they think of, why don't we give it out and don't spend on it? Whereas the biggest problem is if your team is not well versed with what your thoughts and what your R&D has created, it will not give you the exact result. So, and overall, like if you are coming to the myths, I have said that in many panels, in India, 90%, 80% vehicle don't drive more than 50 kilometers per day. And even cars, there are only 5% cars who are every alternate day on a highway. Most of them go on a highway maybe once a month or once in 6 months. And we normally, as an Indian psyche, when we go out to buy, we want a 7-seater. Why? Because maybe once a year we'll go out with a joint family or friends, not even thinking that 90% of my drive will be with me, my wife or my kid, not with the extended family or friends. But we buy for that. We buy a 7-seater. So Indian psyche is a bit different. And the way EV was introduced, the same way we buy a 7-seater, we thought of if we go for 200, 300 kilometer, will this EV suffice? Whereas 90% time I don't need it also. So and practically, you only go to the fuel station once a week. So if you are going once a week or once for 5 days, range is never a point to think about buying a vehicle. Whereas it was created as a biggest problem. And then these startups came in. I'm sorry, there would be a lot of them sitting here. They also cashed on that fear thing, that unless and until government supports us in setting up infrastructure for charging, gives us subsidy, gives us free land, EV adoption will not come. So the problem which was actually not there, the infrastructure should have been there. It is now slowly developing. But the problem which was actually not there was creeped in the mind of the customer, which created a bigger problem for us.
So, two things which you mentioned, Venkesh, very relevant. One is that, and which was, I think, also mentioned before, that the starting, the way it was, the journey, the initial journey, the bad habits which were inculcated, get any junk technology, introduce it, that was there, and it earned a bad name. And a lot of these manufacturers also did shut down. The second part is that there is this myths which are there, that, you know, driving, range, reach, they are not relevant in 95% of cases. But I was just wondering from what he was saying, I was thinking of, we have a very strong campaign, although the stock market is down now, called Mutual Fund Sahi Hai. And you have a Rohit Sharma, Sachin Tendulkar doing it. I don't know why the EV ecosystem between two-wheelers, three-wheelers, passenger vehicles, vendors couldn't start a campaign, EV Sahi Hai. That education, enlightenment. I leave it for another day, but that's my one point of view.
I'll give you one statement. Auto OEMs are the most fragmented association in the world. Sir is sitting here, I will not comment in front of him, but you'll find initially when it was pure ICE, the luxury segment was keeping away from that association.
That is something which
then the EV came in, they kept away from it. Today it is a small car versus big car. So the problem is they are not united. So the day they come united, no doubt, mutual fund Sahi Hai is one of the greatest acts in the history. How the mindset changed. We could have really done wonders, and we spend a lot on EVs. Today, if you see all the association, we do a lot on EVs on conferences and all those things. But the problem is we are fighting within ourselves.
Vinkesh, I have ignited and incited him. He thought that he will not touch this topic, but I know where to press him, where he will come out with that thing. So that part of it. Mr. Luthra, you know, Delhi is the crucible, or you can say Delhi is the good foundation where a good policy can be implemented, and the advantage is it's a geographically compact area also in that sense. So what are things which you think Delhi could do more, because then they could be put in the entire country to raise this entire concept of, see, one is this issue which Mr. Gandhi talked of, raw materials, you know, the entire thing which we always get up, sometimes it's motors, sometimes it is lithium. That's one thing which action is going on. The FAME policy is there. There are actions which are there. It may take time, but we are on the right track.
Well, we can also take a regulatory approach if you want. For example, when we are trying to go for CAFE 3, fuel efficiency regulations, that's going to come for the passenger cars. Because, so that could be another way by which the OEMs will be forced, per se, to cross-subsidize the electric vehicles.
So Mr. Gandhi is saying, don't take only a carrot approach, also take a stick approach.
Yeah, it could be done both ways, where there could be a cross-subsidy of the electric vehicles to bring down the upfront cost to meet the CAFE regulations, and increase the penetration of the passenger cars. One could use it in the two-wheeler industry also.
So coming to you, from your perspective, because when you discuss with government, you say how this major change has to come about.
Now,
and then think national also.
If I understand your question correctly, you are trying to ask me what are the challenges for more EV absorption?
More EV adoption, and what could be done? More than the challenge, what the various stakeholders need to do.
To be very honest, in passenger vehicles, now we have not touched this topic, but to answer this question, vehicles. I would like to answer that. I raised that topic. Just give you a small data.
Yeah.
All of us see many cars today with green plates. All of us see on the roads. Delhi alone has increased. In Delhi, we have seen the public acceptance. And today, the registration of electric cars in Delhi in calendar year 25 versus calendar year 24, 1 year before, has increased by 126%. 126%.
So two-wheeler is a poor cousin at the moment.
Two-wheeler, I see less adaptation to EV. You see, there are 2-3 reasons for that. Primarily, you will never see a car owner charging the car on the road. It's a concept which has to be built up. You see, when somebody is charging a two-wheeler, a three-wheeler, or a car at road, it sounds like a panic charging, panic mode, कि मेरी गाड़ी की तो रेंज ही नहीं है, मैं जयपुर कैसे जाऊँ, या मैं दिल्ली से गुड़गांव कैसे जाऊँ. All such things. In two-wheelers, why I don't see that absorption is, one, many people, a common man, I am talking about a common man, many people have burnt their fingers once by adopting mass to a two-wheeler.
which has given a bad name to the electric two-wheelers. It is taking time, but it is slowly fading away. It is taking some time. Secondly, there are two major factors. There are several, but there are 2-3 major factors I'll just list out. One of them is a higher startup cost, higher purchase cost, vis-a-vis the conventional ICE engines. The second would be charging infra, again, I would say, because even if there's a scooty or there's a motorcycle, a person does 100, 120 kilometers in Delhi a day, that's normal, motorcycle runs, they need charging. The third thing would be battery life. You see, I'm sure gradually times will come when a lifetime battery warranty is now being offered in four-wheeler. The day is not far, it will be offered in two-wheelers also. Then the last and a very significant factor is resale. We do not have a resale ecosystem of electric cars.
One of the R's is resale, which is reassurance liability resale.
Resale of electric cars or two-wheelers ecosystem has not yet started.
That's also the technology is evolving so fast, so it can become irrelevant in 5 years.
Delhi also has we are talking about Delhi specific, as you said. Delhi changes the car or two-wheeler, I think, every 3 years. If you see the resale market or the used car market, whether or used two-wheelers market, whatever, everything is booming. So there's a buying and selling happening simultaneously. So all of these factors, when come together, gradually we are seeing quite an increase. And just taking up on the lead given by Sir, I can say only limited things that very soon in Delhi, to start with, as a torchbearer, we will see the manufacturers and government coming together. I cannot be a soothsayer, but we might see a day when the cost of EVs come down, maybe of certain models, not the luxury ones, where government would be doing something, like Sir said, the manufacturer will be doing something, and the ultimate beneficiary will be the end consumer.
So
that day is not far.
So a lot of things. Mr. Rohit, 2 questions to you. And the first question is, the three-wheeler, when we say penetration is 55-60%, we find L3 is a major component of it. And the L3 juggernaut stops in north and east. When I go to south, I don't find L3 at all. That is one part. Second part is, the moment we start moving from three-wheelers to small commercial vehicles, the juggernaut stops there also. So what is unique about three-wheelers, which could be a useful, which doesn't follow into small commercial vehicles, and what follows in north doesn't follow in south?
So there is one more gap why you see that difference very closely in three-wheeler segment, not in two-wheeler segment. There is a gap in the policy or the registration of the vehicle. You see in electric two-wheeler there is a low-speed vehicle which is not registered. So those numbers doesn't show up anywhere.
That numbers are going down dramatically.
So it is more than the actual high-speed vehicles sold in India.
Today,
Yes,
is it sure?
even today.
What is
There
your view in case?
There are few listed entities who have very good.
Okay.
So that point I don't want to touch. But again, so there are vehicles, and while on e-rickshaw segment or three-wheeler segment, you see that vehicle. Why the transition happened so quickly? Because you are able to see what is going on in this segment. So three-wheeler L3 category vehicles, when it was sold, you can see how much vehicles are growing and everything. Mm-hmm. And when there is unrecorded numbers, you don't feel actually what is the number. So still the grapevine is there that it is far much higher than what the high-speed vehicles are sold in India.
For two-wheelers, you're referring to?
Yes, in two-wheeler segment. So the actual percentage would be
whereas
not
three-wheelers, it is visible.
Yes. So that is also one of the factors. If you ask if the government changes that every low-speed vehicle will also be registered, then you can easily see and make out what are the numbers which are going there. And it will not be...
Mr. Luthra, can you give this recommendation to the government?
So it has been already told many times, but somehow those changes
he's the... Gandhi sir? Mr. Gandhi has to do so that at least we know the reality. जो दिखता है वो बिकता है, जो दिखता ही नहीं उसका पता नहीं चलता.
I fully agree with him that the number of three-wheelers and two-wheelers entry level, we don't require registration because of the current CMVR.
But
so one would have to further modify the
CMRV
Motor Vehicle Act, which of course is a
So
long
basically, if you
exercise.
remember, even three-wheelers weren't allowed, needed to be registered. But slowly and steadily, things changed.
Things
seeing the
changed.
numbers and then permits and all
So
those
you know the
things.
real market.
So I feel if that rail comes in, and no doubt, retail, it is not there, but B2B, it is big for
B2B
those
is big.
unregistered two-wheelers.
B2B is very big, which is that. Okay, coming to the second part, which is there, why does the revolution stop in South?
So the revolution was not there because majorly L3 category vehicles, अगर आप देखते हैं, the direct competition like with the pedal e-rickshaws,
Cycle rickshaws here.
the cycle rickshaws, which
Okay.
was completely not present
Okay.
in South. If you go to any state in South,
So that's
you'll
what
not
you
see
say,
that.
creating a category you talked of initially.
Yes. So what it was a direct replacement of those category of vehicles, and it pushed the government also. कि
And
यार,
this didn't exist, cycle rickshaw didn't exist in
yes,
South
it
to
should
that
not be.
extent.
It should be obsolete.
And why does the
Instead of
small commercial vehicle, the juggernaut stops there at three-wheelers? If you look at the numbers, if I look at the numbers of,
price gap is one factor. The price is the major factor there. If you see that entry level, the Tata is, or comparing the category with that.
Uller Motors
with
or-
and that. So the range is not there. The range exactly, even if you see the current vehicle which were launched by Tata Ace with 15 kilowatt battery packs, the range is not more than 120, 130. And these light commercial vehicles has to go intercity. From nearby area, say from Delhi to
So
maybe
somehow
Greater Noida or something. Then they
three-wheeler is
can't
a
come
more
back.
localized ecosystem, very
Yes.
localized.
Just to add to what he said, go back 15, 20 years when the CNG revolution had started. We were seeing times ki diesel autos or diesel Tata Ace या petrol Tata Ace and all were running. लोग उसी को लेके जाते थे because CNG की लाइन में कौन लगे? 2 घंटा लगता है, 3 घंटा लगता है.
अब CNG is
So today you see CNG everywhere. Every petrol pump is almost selling CNG. The time is not far. Then we will see a fast charging infra all over, maybe at pumps or specially designated areas. That is when the actual absorption will happen, and Delhi will lead the change again. This I can place on record.
Okay, chalo, he's standing for it. Shweta, I'm coming to you last, but not that it is nas. One question which I was hearing is, and you mentioned that IP has to start from scratch, or at the very basic fundamentals when you're creating. So what is being done at the government policy level? Now, if Mr. Luthra is talking of the lot of things which are coming, does the word IP exist somewhere in that your memorandum or no? Yes or no only? I need a reply.
When I wear the hat of Dealers Association, we represent the OEM, and dealers will not exist if the OEMs do not have IP.
Okay. Okay, so he's given a very roundabout answer. I wanted to answer yes or no. Yeah? Okay. Okay, now my point is, if the mindset has to be changed, and okay, give me just two things. I mean, mindset changes in two ways. One is that I get phenomenal benefits. Other is, if I don't do this, my life is in danger. So, if you look ahead, what are two things you would like to say? If you do this, this is your net gain. And if you don't do this, this is your net loss.
So you mentioned one thing very clear, the fear
Fear factor.
factor. So we, Indian market, I would say, we learn when we are caught,
Acha.
right? So there will be, I know there will be a big litigation when the litigators, when the big giants will be behind our life for the technology, we are doing the copy paste, we will learn from the lesson and we will start IP like anything. Because IP has been in technology area, but in 2 years, 3 years, it has changed a lot. But yes, unless there is a fear factor, it will not gain a speed which it should, and which right now gaining. If you see, there was a case of Ola, right? Tesla has done a case on a small startup battery system. So if we want to survive, and to all the panelists and people here, if we actually want to survive in the long game of electronic vehicle, either two-wheeler or three-wheeler, IP is only, and this I can say on and off record, IP is only one thing where you can take this game for a long run. I'll give one very simple example. We are talking about infrastructure, battery management systems, and how many of us know that already a company has patented a solid state technology for batteries, which can actually run for 3,000 kilometers. right?
3,000
3,000 kilometers, and this has already been patented. So if we want to up our game, there are 2 to 3 things we should do as an organization, as a startup, as a SMEs. First, we need to do a good market research, which is very important for the product or the processes or the inventions and innovations you are doing. Second, strategize IP during your first, I would say, making of your business plan or doing the financial planning for your product or processes. And third, before something big comes in the litigation, secure yourself, protect yourself through not IPs only, patents or trademarks or designs are not only the market. There is a term which is called trade secret. It goes for a long term. Yes, statutory rights are not there, but you can, through the confidential agreement, you can protect. So when you design your manufacturing agreement, vendor contracts, or collaboration agreement, IP should be a major playing the major key role in your
So,
papers.
Venkesh, one request to you is whenever you have the next CIAM or FADA convention, since you straddle both the areas in some way, get Shweta also on board to talk to the opinion makers, the cheerleaders, or the people who play the showstoppers.
So that is why I asked a question about dealers, because she's still not addressing that. She's more bothered about the multi-billionaire OEMs there. We are some.
No, I'm more
we are
bothered
some-
about startups and small OEMs
So
also.
I'm telling you, we are around 25,000-30,000 dealers,
So-
and there'll be 100 Agarwal
Thousands of
automobiles in
dealers.
India. How do we file an IP for Agarwal automobiles?
Or
So
for United.
any product or processor you are developing, you should do a patent search for that. If it is very new, it is novel, only 2 factors you have to check. First is novelty, it should be novel worldwide. Second, non-obvious, you have some technology, filled some technology gap, some technology advancement is there. You should file it, otherwise someone else will file and stop you.
Okay. So we'll come to the last and we'll come to a rapid fire question round. We need an answer only in one line, not more than one line. And as we specific, you can duck the question, but we'll have a box full of chocolates or thing for the best answer. Is the organizers, Rohit and Tanisha, you listening? So, that won't serve the purpose. We need something, a bigger box, which is there. So, Gandhiji, 2 things, just bullet points, which the government should do to promote EV at a faster pace, which it is not doing.
The only way is it could be mandated, which the Delhi government is doing. You can only register electric 2-wheelers, I think, 3
Okay,
years down
so-
the line. And the other thing is through environmental litigation, where again, like the CNG was introduced in India.
Okay.
So mandation is the only way.
So 2 things which is there. Vikesh, 2 things which the dealer community should do if they have to spearhead the EV revolution.
From the dealer side, I feel clarifying the myths what customer has. And again, because I represent skilling also, at least to skill the full ecosystem from even starting peon to the GM to understand that EV is not a taboo or a problem. It's the future. So like we sell petrol, diesel,
So that's-
CNG, LPG, EV is just another thing. It's nothing coming from out of the planet and it's a problem. So somewhere there. But I want to add from the OEM side also, a request to Mr.
Vikesh never leaves the OEM aside. I always see that. That's a good thing.
A request to Mr. Gandhi also, unless and until all dealers in India, whichever brand they represent, they don't have an EV standing in their showroom, we cannot talk of adoption the way is needed.
So हर घर में हर showroom में EV चाहिए. Coming to Sudha, and not as from Delhi perspective. Now I'm talking, we are a national hat. What are things which industry associations and especially FADA could do, which can spearhead the EV revolution, which it is not doing?
The industry associations?
2 things which they are not doing, they should do now.
Now, this is something again I will place on record.
One line
One
answers
line.
for 2
Industry association should create infra for EV charging.
Okay, so the focus.
Just that will throw the fear out of the mind.
So infra.
And I can place on record, FADA Delhi has given a proposal to Delhi government to set up 200 infra charging points for Delhi government in Delhi.
So infra is something which will create. One, that is one.
FADA Delhi has taken the lead, and I'm sure following this, such industry associations all over the country would replicate such things.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else?
Create infra,
So,
Kia will go out.
Ayush,
West government is doing.
EV
Subsidy,
was supposed to be
everything,
the big revolution for as far as B2B is concerned. What are two things which are not happening to the potential that B2B, which was a lot of potential, it's happening?
Probably the years which can happen at a much faster pace. Because then it's a virtuous cycle will set in, even for individuals even.
I think for B2B case, EV adoption is already happening in a much bigger format. Government has been very vocal about it to make
So that's
sure that
happening, not a problem at
it is
all.
already happening. The only thing is a mandate has to come where they'll say that you will not be allowed. So they are definitely talking about the Delhi government.
But the
is
very
talking
state
about-
governments have laws, B2B, driving, you always hear something happening or other.
But still, that kind of adoption is happening on a much bigger format. You talk about deliveries.
So not a
for
problem at
Amazon.
all.
Not much.
So since
Not in the
B2B
big
is
cities at
happening,
least. It's
what
a-
do you want to do in B2C then?
For B2C, I think it's still one area which is very important, which is yet to be addressed, is this, the resale cost and the resale easier. That is one challenging part which
So
is
resale.
still not be addressed in the complete ecosystem.
So resale is something which is the reassurance, reliability,
Yes.
and resale has to follow. Shweta, now you have to wear a hat, playing the devil's advocate. And when you play a devil's advocate, you critique your own industry. Two things with the IP industry is not done, which you could do better to spearhead the incorporation of IP into the EV revolution.
First, don't overcharge the clients.
So you're cutting down your fees then, huh?
Yeah, I have already cut down.
Acha.
So, and the second thing is that guide the clients, the engineers in a manner they should understand. Our language is not for them. We have to talk in their language so that they understand and take it
So
seriously.
Shweta, very well said. One is, there's a lot of things, people when you go to intellectual property rights, you hear lakhs, millions, crores. I don't know how much you earn, that is, I leave it to you. But the second point, which is, it could be a misconception, and second point you said is, talk the language of the ground, how it helps them, or how they don't do part of it. So great, we have a discussion, but we'll have time for 3-4 questions. Anybody can raise their hand and ask a question, and if you want to focus a question to a specific person, name the person also. Otherwise, I'll direct it to the person. But keep the question short, because we'll have a half a minute of the question and 1 minute to answer. That way, we'll have 3 to 4 questions.
Well, thank you. My name is Sushant Baliwada Patnaik, and we are actually building efficiency intelligence platform powered by adaptive efficiency modeling, which is, by the way, IP backed. And SSI Innovation has more than 6 patents backed. And this is the question for Ayush ji. So
Question is for?
Ayush Lohia ji.
Ayush, okay.
So, do you agree that the efficiency of the vehicle is depend on the real-time driving conditions? And if so, what are the measures you are taking?
Okay.
Thank you.
So Ayush, question to you.
So the efficiency, you're talking about the vehicle or the complete ecosystem? So the vehicle efficiency mainly, completely depends upon the driver. Conditions can be other things also, like the road, the traffic, everything. Yeah, so the behavior is it's a major reason why the efficiency in vehicle, and it does not only apply to electric vehicle, it applies even for the gasoline vehicle also.
Yes, I completely agree, and that's why we are actually working on that space.
So what's your answer? What do you suggest? Any suggestion? Because as you said, it's an uncontrollable variable.
Yeah, so suggestion to improve the efficiency?
Yeah.
I think the speed of the vehicle can definitely drive the efficiency of the vehicle. How you talk up, how you, by training or making the customer aware is one thing which you can definitely improve the efficiency of the
Customer
vehicle.
education,
under the
enlightenment is important, which is
Yeah.
there.
So that intelligence
Okay.
actually we are providing through our
Okay,
software.
okay. So
Thank
you're
you.
not on a selling pitch here. You're asking questions. Huh?
Can I just try to answer your
Yeah, please, sir.
question? Is that, see, improving the efficiency can be done by technological improvement. You could have better motors, better less tire resistance. So there are various technologies. which are-
Technology and
Expensive. Those are
and
expensive.
you could use them
Yeah.
to increase the efficiency
Yes,
of the
those
vehicle.
are expensive.
And that's where, you know, cafe norms, they take all those things into
So thank you.
Yes,
One or
yes,
two more
thank you,
questions.
yeah.
We already have our collaborators on the mic, so they're just giving a signal. So any question anybody has, specific, short, keep it crisp and short.
Hello all. I'm a two-wheeler dealer from Varanasi. My question is that we know that EV is the future, and we discussed the challenges also. So my point is that whether EV is profitable for companies and dealers, that's why there are so many challenges. Is EV profitable?
Okay. Venkesh, you could answer this question.
So practically, boss, the kind of infrastructure needed for pure EV dealer, because I am Chetak dealer for Prayagraj, as compared to a Bajaj two-wheeler dealer to Chetak dealership, I need only 20% space for the showroom and 20% space for the workshop. And obviously the manpower also reduces the same way because, so what we normally see as dealer is service absorption ratio, but that brings in a lot of manpower, a lot of area infrastructure, whereas EV doesn't need so much. So it's a very frugal system to work. And the way, if you see actually the ROI, it's not as good as ICE today, but slowly and steadily it will be better than ICE, maybe in 2, 3 years, 4 years, when actually the adoption what we are talking of reaches the level.
Thank you. Last question, if anybody has, before we conclude. No question on the last, which is there. So there is no question at the end. So clearly, it's been a good discussion. I mean, I must thank the panelists. They opened their minds and hearts out, and they've been very frank, fearless also. But I think the question which is coming is that we have come a long way in the EV journey, but still there are a lot of challenges and opportunities. But the path is
Possible to reach to the next level, and you cannot avoid EV at this point in time, and also intellectual property rights, which Shweta would say. So clearly there is a journey. The journey started well. It's slow. You need certain catalysts, certain momentum, all the stakeholders to be a part of this journey. Once you have it, it will really gain at a piece like the Autobahn which is there. Thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists and thank you the audience.